So welcome back to another episode of Shelly's Game Kitchen. Each episode I try and bring you unique ways of cooking a very healthy and lean, low cholesterol protein in game. So stay tuned while I bring the forest to your table. So what I'm cooking for you today is elk enchiladas. So I'm using ground elk here, and I've got a lot of special ingredients that are going to make a wonderful enchilada sauce, and I'm going to serve that with a cabbage, tomato, onion salad. So stick around, let's get cooking. Montana Flavor to Savor. We've spent a decade creating the best flavors with all natural ingredients, gluten-free, with no fillers or no preservatives. You can find the best flavors at Montana Flavor to Savor. Visit our website at www.mtflavortosavor.com. With an explosion of flavor that tantalizes your taste buds, there's only one way to experience the last best taste of Montana, and that's with Montana Flavor to Savor seasonings. Get yours today. So what I'm going to get started with is browning up some of this wonderful ground elk. So before I get that into my hot pan, I'm going to kind of season that with just a little bit of blackening spice. So I'm just using the blackening spice, and I know that this is kind of Cajun spices, but when you add those same type of heat with some of our other ingredients, like our cumin and coriander and so forth, then it kind of changes it into Mexican flavors. So I'm going to kind of add all of those spices in with our ground meat and mix that together. Let me get some oil in this pan. So remember how I've said in other episodes that elk is very, very lean. So because there's no fat, or very, very little fat, you need to make sure that you add fat to your pan. It's not like burger, like beef burger, where it's always rendering. This has, it needs a little help with some oil in your pan. So we're gonna get that browning. And actually, let me get my onions started first. It's quite a bit of onions in this because we want that extra flavor. It's that aromatic and wonderful flavor in onions. I love a sauteed onion with the garlic as well. We're gonna hold off on putting that in until they saute a little bit more, get softened. And I've got some ground chipotle and adobo. And this is actually one of the things in this dish that makes a huge difference is I'm using New Mexico chili powder. So when I really got into the spice business and started manufacturing our own spices, looking into all of the additives that go into your over-the-counter spices, it's amazing. And chili powder is one of those. It has so many other ingredients. It's not just chilies. But New Mexico chili powder is literally just ground up dried chilies. So if you want that pure, true chili powder, look for New Mexico chili powder. You can get it online. Some specialty shops will have it as well. So now that we're kind of softening that up, I'm going to go ahead and add in my ground elk. Make sure I get all of those wonderful Mexican spices. And I'm just going to kind of break that up, and we're going to let that cook for a little bit until it's nice and crumbled and all of the spices have cooked into that meat a little bit. So our elk meat is browned and crumbly, and I added in some crushed red chili flakes, some cumin, like I said, some of that New Mexico chili powder. I did some ground coriander, and just really flavorful in that meat. And now I'm also going to deglaze with red wine vinegar and just kind of get some of those sooks off the bottom, that wonderful fronds that have cooked up, deglaze with that. And then I'm also going to add in some ground chipotle and adobo. So when I do this, I get the can and just buzz the whole thing in a mini food processor, and then use what I'm gonna use that day, and then I put the rest in a Ziploc baggie in the freezer, and this is tomato paste I'm adding. I can just take out, I need a tablespoon here or a tablespoon there, and it's great when you're doing that with the chipotle and adobos. You don't need to use the whole can. It's a lot of chipotle. So I'm just gonna kind of brown that tomato paste up with my meat. Just saute it a little bit till it starts to change color. That's what you're looking for. Nice. And then what I'm gonna do is add in my liquid components. So actually, let me get my garlic in there and give that 30 seconds to kind of saute and loosen those aromatics up. Perfect. And then actually, let me add that butter. Almost forgot a step. So I'm gonna add butter and a little bit of flour to kind of help thicken some of those liquid components. So we're making a roux. It's kind of like when I was on another episode, if you watched me talking about Sanger. So we're dusting with flour. The French call it Sanger. Like my grandma and my mom always just said, it's dust it with flour. So that's what I'm doing. So perfect. I'm just gonna kind of get that going and let that flour cook out with that butter. A roux actually is just equal parts fat, and you can use oil too, equal parts fat and flour. So now that we've got that there, let's add in our liquid components. I've got a little bit of homemade stock. I'm gonna turn my heat up so it comes back up to a simmer. And then I'm gonna add in some tomato sauce, canned tomatoes, just kind of crushed canned tomatoes or diced works out fine too. So now we're gonna let all of those flavors kind of come together, and because all of those other spices was to flavor the meat, now I need to flavor my liquid components. So again, we're gonna add in some more seasonings. I've got a bay leaf, I've got some more cumin, coriander, a little bit of cayenne this time, and a little bit of salt. I'm gonna add that in. And there's my cumin and coriander. And again, we're gonna add in some more of that New Mexico chili powder. Maybe not all of that. So it's one of those dishes that you wanna kind of taste as you go and see how spicy and hot it is. And you can always adjust it. Okay, so now as those kind of simmer a little bit, and we're gonna let those flavors meld, and then we'll get ready to build our enchilada casserole. So let's build our enchilada casserole. So what I have here are just some flour tortillas, and I'm gonna, in the bottom of my casserole dish, kind of like you do with a lasagna or something like that, I'm just gonna add a little bit of my meat mixture and so forth. The reason for this is it kind of helps to start that cooking process of your flour tortilla on the bottom, but it also, as you're rolling and building, it can hold your rolled tortillas together. So all I'm gonna do here now is just kind of start building. I take a spoonful and a little bit of grated cheese, and this is just smoked Gouda and some pepper jack cheese, and I'm just gonna roll it together, and then we're gonna start layering in here. So I really started doing the enchiladas because we had so much burger from the elk, and This was one of my signature dishes growing up. My mom made enchiladas a lot. So I took that homemade recipe that I used to do with beef and just transferred it over into elk. And then I started making my own sauce, and it just kind of became a thing. And so now I'm kind of known throughout all of our friends for my elk enchiladas. So it's another one of my signature dishes when you come and visit me at my house, is my elk enchiladas. So I'm going to continue to build these, and as soon as I get the whole casserole together, I'm going to top it with the sauce and the rest of the cheese, and then we're going to put it in the oven. Okay, so now we've got all of our rolls done, and I'm just going to top it. I'm going to take out that little bay leaf that was simmering in there. I'm going to top it with the remainder of all of this sauce. Getting kind of messy there, sorry. I don't want to miss any of those good bits in there. And then I just want to kind of move that around and get all of those tortillas so they're not exposed. I want to cover them with sauce so they get nice and softened and unctuous in the oven. This smells amazing already, but we got a couple more steps to do. So it's super simple. All I'm going to do now is just top it with the rest of this cheese. And then we're going to put it in the oven at about 350 degrees for 40-45 minutes. So I think our enchiladas are ready to come out of the oven. Let me get those out. Oh yes. Bubbling, sizzling, that cheese is browned. That needs to cool down just a little bit before we cut into it. And while that's cooling down, I'm going to mix together just a simple little salad. So this is going to be an avocado, Napa slaw, red onion, tomato, a little cilantro with just a lime vinaigrette. But one of my secrets that I do when I do avocados is I actually, once you dice that up, put it into your dressing because then it won't oxidize. And I don't know if you saw that trick. I saw that a little bit ago on the internet. Just squeeze it a little bit and there goes your pit, so you don't have to use your knife into it. It was kind of a brilliant thing. So what I'm going to do is just kind of have this, and I'm just going to chunk this up a little bit and then add it to my vinaigrette. And then I'm going to toss the whole salad. There we go. So once we do this, this kind of prevents it from oxidizing in your salad. So sometimes when you're tossing your dressing in your salad, you can't get all of your edges of the avocado coated with the dressing. So this is kind of my little thing that I do, just to kind of help that to not oxidize. I'm gonna do it over the top of the greens just in case I spill. But I just want to toss that in there first. And like I said, this is just a simple little salad, but it goes so good with the enchiladas. It really plays off of each other. So that's why I do this one whenever I do enchiladas. Just want to have something fresh because there's so much cheese and and wonderful goodness in that enchiladas, you need something a little fresh. Okay, let's let that kind of soften up that cabbage, and then we'll get ready to plate. Okay, let's get some of these delicious elk enchiladas plated up for you to see. So I kind of cut mine like you would a lasagna and serve it kind of like that. And then I'm gonna serve it with a little side of this beautiful salad. Make sure you get some tomatoes and cabbage and avocado. And then I've just got some fresh cilantro that I'm gonna put over the top. So I love cilantro. I'm one of those, I love it. So there you have my elk enchiladas with a simple cilantro, avocado, tomato, and cabbage salad. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Shelly's Game Kitchen. I'm Chef Shelly Meyer. You can find me on social media at chefshellymeyer.com or on Facebook or Instagram. What I made for you today was elk enchiladas. And I also made a simple little salad, but the majority of it was about these enchiladas. The best thing, and they're smelling up the studio so wonderfully. The crew's really hungry. I so appreciate you tuning in. Find my spices at www.mtflavortosavor.com. And I'll catch you next time where I continue to bring the forest to your table.